ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Championship Sunday overtime. Whew. What a finish to Championship Sunday. Started with a whimper as the Philadelphia Eagles destroy the San Francisco 49ers 31-7, but ended with a bang. They saved the best for last with the Kansas City Chiefs advancing to Super Bowl 57, 23-20 in a thriller. Congratulations to both teams for punching their ticket to Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona. Should be a fantastic game. Really, the two best teams this season are both number one seeds advancing to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have a lot of wounds to lick, man. Mahomes is hobbling around. He'll feel a lot better in 2 weeks, but clearly he's got an issue with the ankle. Kelsey's got a back. The pelvic injury that kept Mecole Hardman out for the last month and a half, he re-aggravated that tonight. So the likelihood is he won't be playing in the Super Bowl. Kadarius Toney had an injury that kept him out of the game after like the first quarter tonight. And then Juju Smith-Schuster left the game. Don't know what exactly his ailment was, but he didn't return to the game. So they got some injuries, man. They're pretty banged up, but they will be participating in Super Bowl 57 as they get the 23-20 victory. We'll talk about that game first. We'll get to the Eagles' destruction of the San Francisco 49ers a little bit later on in the show. I want to first start by saying that both of these games I thought were over officiated. I wasn't really too pleased with the way that the two games were called today. After talking about how the officials had done a really good job of swallowing the whistle for the most part in the first two rounds of the playoffs, I thought that these two games were definitely impacted by the officials. Now, I don't think the outcome of either game was altered necessarily by the officiating. That, whereas this team would have won if the officiating wasn't so slanted in one direction. The Eagles would have still won, even with some of the calls that did keep drives alive. Once Brock Purdy got hurt, that game was over, right? So that really didn't matter. It was really insignificant at the end of the day. It just was tough to watch, penalty after penalty, ticky-tack call after ticky-tack call where you're saying, yeah, it's technically a foul, but you haven't been calling that all postseason. Why are you calling it now in the biggest game of the season to this point? Same thing can be said in this game. I thought the Bengals got hosed a couple of times, but again, you go back to the play that they ran, the Chiefs ran, and then they ended up saying, oh, no, we were trying to kill that play, and they got the stop. Well, they ended up getting a 5-yard penalty on the next play on an Eli Apple hold, but then they ended up getting a stop anyway, so it didn't really impact the game. They called Joe Burrow for an intentional ground. I thought that was an egregious call. So IJ Piron's right there. What do you mean there's no receiver and I thought the officials too, the guys that they have in-house, Mike Pereira for Fox, and Gene Steratore for CBS. I thought both of those guys were horrible today. Normally, Mike Pereira is pretty good at saying, I don't really agree with that call. He was too much on the side of the officials today. There were some bad calls, man. There were some calls where you got to swallow the whistle. It's playoff football. You can't call every ticky-tack foul. This is not what it's supposed to be. Let the guys on the field decide the outcome of the game. You don't announce yourself to the world, hey, we here. We in this bitch. The zebras are here, No, we don't need to know that you're even on the field. Let these boys decide the outcome of the game on the field. But even with that Burrow intentional grounding, they got the first down. So again, it's not like, that altered anything. They still got a huge play to Hayden Hurst, and then they didn't get the first down. So like I said, these were some bad calls I didn't enjoy. You had 15 penalties called in the first game with Philadelphia and San Francisco, 11 on the 49ers, 11. One drive, there were 4 penalties, 3 leading to first downs when the Eagles had to punt. There was an egregious roughing the kicker penalty. I've watched the football season all year long. And roughing the kicker, they've specifically said if you don't hit the plant leg, it's running. I've seen kickers get murdered this year and get 5-yard penalties. That was as bad of a call as I've seen. You got to go back to the Vikings and Giants game where they called that stupid roughing the passer penalty on a hit on Kirk Cousins. You're like, are you kidding me? You can't throw the flag right there. Are you serious? That was an agree. But I mean, again, that didn't alter the outcome. It's just another example of them, this poor call. Okay. At the end of the day, 15 penalties, 11 against San Francisco. That can't happen. Not in the NFC Championship game. 13 penalties in this Bengals Chiefs game, 9 of them on Cincinnati. Again, that can't happen in this game. Now, I'm not telling the officials not to do their job, because of those 11 San Francisco penalties, probably 8 were legitimate penalties. But of the 8 that were legitimate and the 3 that I thought were bogus, 5 of those 8 could have been like, hey, okay, it's all good. Don't worry about it. There was in one of the ones that I really thought impacted the game is still 14-7 at this point. Might have been 7-7. There's a play to A.J. Brown across the middle of the field, and he's within 5 yards, and they called him for pass interference with the ball in the air. And I'm like, he had already let him go. Like, that was good defense. What are we throwing the flag here for? I'm confused. Help me. Mike Hilton gets a PI on a play where he's got his arm around his hip, but he didn't twist him. That's a good play. What are we throwing the flag for? What are we doing right now? Let these guys play football. What are we doing? That said, the 2 teams that were probably supposed to win these games won the game. I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I don't want to waste a whole lot of time talking about the officiating, because I know a lot of people are going to bring that up. Yes, it was problematic for me as well. But again, the 2 best teams in the league for the better part of the season this year are playing in the biggest game of the season. I think we got this thing right. Now, it's hard for me to say that with San Francisco, because you just hate to see it end the way that it did. But we'll get to that game. Let's talk about this game first. Let's talk about 23-20 Chiefs win. Mahomes gets it done. You know what was so funny to me was last week, everyone, we lauded and praised Burrow, and we should have. But there were some people that took it a bit too far and said, because I immediately assumed, which is probably wrong on my part. I shouldn't assume that people feel the way that I feel. But I assumed, naturally, that everyone just had Mahomes at number 1. Why wouldn't you? 5 straight AFC Championship games. He's been a starter for 5 years, and he's made it to the AFC Championship game every single year. And he's hosted, not just made it, not a couple of trips on the road out of those 5. All 5 have been in Kansas City. And he's won 3 of them. This is going to be his 3rd time participating in the Super Bowl in 5 years as a starter. I'd like to think, and he's going to win league MVP this year, by the way. I'd like to think that he's the best quarterback in football. I'd like to think that there's Mahomes, and then there's a bit of a gap, and then it's the next guy, whether that's Allen or Burrow. And we talked about last week, Burrow passing Allen. That's what that game last week kind of signified. Burrow passing Allen on that totem pole, and now only Mahomes stands in his way for the title of best quarterback in the NFL. But there were some last week that wanted to say that question, Mahomes, Burrow's number 1. Oh, yeah? Really? Okay, we'll see about that. Mahomes got it done. He gutted it out today. You could tell he wasn't 100%. You knew he wasn't going to be 100% after what we watched last week. And I said this during the podcast leading up to the game. I said, at some point there will be a point in the game, and you'll know it. We'll know it. We'll see it, and we'll be able to identify it, where he goes from roughly 82% to about 51%, just like that. You'll see it. And it was the play where he rolled to his left. He's scrambling away from the pressure. He actually throws a great pass to Mecole Hardman. It's the play that Hardman ends up getting hurt on, folded up like an accordion, re-aggravates the groin injury. But they do get the first down. But after Mahomes landed, you could see him hobbling. And in that moment, he went from 82% feeling good, moving around great, limited, limp or hobble, to pronounced hobble. I'm hurting. I'm grimacing after every play. I'm in pain. Yeah, I'm feeling it. But he gutted it out. And on that same drive, he throws that dart to Marquez Valdez-Scantling for the touchdown. Mahomes was sensational in this game. He made every play that he could make with his, and there were times where I'm like, dude, why are you running? Just get rid of it. And he didn't know how to play any other way than how he plays, balls to the wall. And while that can be, a gift, it can also be a curse. But, it worked in his benefit in this game. He was fantastic. threw for over 300 yards. His team needed every single one of those yards because they didn't have any run game, which to speak of. The run game was non-existent. Cincinnati shut that shit down. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the statistics in the game for the Chiefs rushing. I think they probably had less than 40 yards rushing in this game, if I had to guess. As well, Mahomes probably had like 30 something, maybe 40 by himself. So I take that back. Isaiah Pacheco, they had 42 yards total rushing in this game. Isaiah Pacheco, 10 carries, 26 yards. Mahomes, 3 carries, 8 yards. So he didn't have as many as I thought he had way more than that. But that said, Mecole Hardman, 2 for 7. Jerick McKinnon, 4 carries, 1 yard. Ronald Jones, 1 carry, 0 yards. They could not run the football. So they needed every bit of the 326 yards passing that Patrick Mahomes had in this ball game because the run game was absolutely non-existent. Mahomes was sensational. 29 of 43, 326, 2 touchdowns. Used his legs when he had to, including that big run at the end of the game. You feel for Joseph Osai. At least I do. If you're a Bengals fan, you're probably cursing him up and down, left and right, sideways, upside down, you name it. I feel so bad for him. He was boo-hooing on the sidelines. He wanted it so bad. He played his ass off, too. That's the bad part is no one's going to remember all of the pressures, all of the times that he got to Mahomes or forced him to make a decision he didn't want to make. All they're going to remember is that he was the guy that pushed him out of bounds, and he was clearly out of bounds. Pushed him out of bounds, picked up the penalty that gave them the field goal positioning that they needed to have this game be ended in regulation. It's a shame, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I like I said, it's just you hate to see the game end in that fashion. With these two quarterbacks dueling it out, you just want to see it end on the field. You hate to see a guy do something like that alters the outcome. That definitely altered the outcome of the game. You saw that kick, and maybe Butker tries to put a little bit more drive into it, doesn't kick it as high if he's a little bit further back, but you saw that kick. I don't know how long it was, 44, let's call it 44 yards. That thing barely made it over the crossbar. It was good probably by about 5 yards or so. It didn't make it into the crowd. It hit the stanchion right in front of the crowd and bounced back. So that thing wasn't good because the net is 8 yards behind the crossbar. So it wasn't good by 8 yards. It didn't make it all the way fully into the net. So that kick wouldn't have been good from 7-10 yards back further. So that's a big penalty, man. But with that said, the Chiefs were banged up. And this is why I love this performance from Mahomes. This will go down as one of his best performances. We've seen gaudier numbers. We've seen more wizardry out of him than today. But because of the circumstances, because we knew he was coming in compromised, the Bengals knew he was coming in compromised because there was no aid of the run game. Isaiah Pacheco and company were absolutely shut down in this football game because 3 receivers that you came into the game having to rely on all get hurt. Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, Kadarius Toney. You're left with guys like Kemp and having to go to 3 tight end sets with Jody Fortson on the field so that you can still run some of the stuff that you came into the game thinking you're going to have to run. Sky Moore has to play a bigger role in the ball game. That was a huge punt return by Sky Moore to set up the field position that ultimately helped them get the touchdown there at the end of the game as well. So got to give them credit there in the special teams. And I said this to the MOBB. Shout out to the MOBB for watching both games with me because the first one was tough. The first one, that shit was over to me by halftime. Once Josh Johnson fumbled the snap and the Eagles got it, whether they scored a touchdown or a field goal, the 49ers weren't going to score more than 17 points in the game. I could tell just off of the strength of Josh Johnson. Like, we'll talk about that when we get to the Eagles game. That game was tough. This one was good, but I said at the beginning of this game, it's gonna have to be special teams making a play somewhere in here for these two teams. There's gonna be a turnover, maybe because of the 2 quarterbacks. There may not have been a turnover. There was an altering turnover that if the Chiefs lose this game, we point straight to that Mahomes fumble because the Chiefs had control of the game. This was a weird, wacky game as how it played out because the Chiefs came out. They were I thought really effective. I was shocked at how effective the Chiefs were right out of the gate. Similar to last year's game where they were up 21-3 at one point, they were dominating this game. If not for a penalty on Wiley, I want to say it was Wiley on a hold on the Pacheco touchdown run, it's 17-3. Now, Bengals fans can counter with, hey, if Hayden Hurst doesn't drop a perfectly thrown ball from Joe Burrow up the sideline in the end zone, it's a different ball game score-wise as well. Touche. I'm not going to dispute that at all. That was a dime. It was a tough catch, but that's a dime. I need that caught in the AFC Championship game. And Hayden Hurst has been fantastic for you all season long, but I need that one. Anyway, they were dominating. Mahomes was fantastic. He was like 12 of 15, 153 yards, a touchdown. He's managing the game. He's moving around well. I'm like, this is impressive. I'm shocked at what I'm watching. I did not expect Kansas City to be moved. They scored on their first 3 possessions. And as I mentioned, if not for the holding penalty, it's 17-3. But instead, it's 13-3. But as fate would have it, Bengals chip away. It's 13-6. They get the touchdown. They tie this thing up at 13 apiece. You're sitting there saying, wow, Chiefs get the ball after half. We'll see what they do. Bengals get a quick stop, get the football back, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, Joe's going to take this thing down the field, give them the lead. And once they take the lead, Kansas City's in trouble. Defense gets a turnover. They take that football. They move it down the field. They get the touchdown. And it's 20-13. And at that moment, I felt like, okay, the Chiefs, now Arrowhead is juiced up. The crowd is starting to become a problem. The Bengals go 3-and-out, give it right back to Mahomes. And this is the moment of the game where I felt like, it's trouble. I think that might have been the interception, not the previous possession. This was the drive where Burrow throws it downfield. I think this was that wasn't into the double coverage. That's later in the game. This one, I think, is just a punt. And they got the football and they're driving it. And then Mahomes has the ball slip out of his hands. And at that moment, I'm thinking, wow, this game just changed. And of course, they take that fumble, go down the field, make them pay for it. And they went for it on 4th and 7. Wow. They went for it on 4th down twice, and Burrow had big throws on both. Well, I think it was twice, and Burrow had big throws on both of them down the field. I know Mahomes had the big 4th down and 1 throw to Kelsey for the touchdown. And then he had the 4th down did Burrow to Jamar Chase, which was just huge at the time because you're down 20-13. You don't convert that. You're not only not getting points on that drive, Mahomes is getting the football back with great field position. If they just get a field goal, you're in trouble. You're down 2 scores. And we're probably at the 9-minute mark of the 4th quarter. That's a huge set of sequence of events. They get the big catch. First of all, how about T. Higgins climbing the ladder? My goodness. I love when teams utilize size properly. That's a great throw and an even better catch. That's top shelf shit right there. Okay. That's that top shelf liquor. Not everybody is able to get up there and reach that top shelf to get that good stuff down. You stay down there with the cheap stuff that gives you a headache the next day. I'm going to go ahead and sip that smooth, elegant top shelf stuff. That's what that Joe Burrow throw to T. Higgins was all about. Gorgeous. But you get that throw to Jamar Chase on that 4th down, and I'm like, oh, my God, Burrow's about to do this shit again. They get in the end zone with Shamaje Perine a couple plays later, and it's 2020. And I'm saying to myself, here it is. This is it. All right. About roughly 7 minutes to go in the game, maybe 10 minutes to go, something to that effect. Matter of fact, let's look it up. We had at that moment of that touchdown, you had the it is 13 minutes and 30 seconds left. So essentially a quarter. I remember Jim Nantz saying 90 seconds into the final frame, the Bengals have tied the game up. And at that point, I said, okay, we've got essentially a quarter of football. May the best team win. Let's see what the hell is going to happen here. And that fourth quarter was just wacky. It was just wacky with all kinds of twists and turns. No one could quite get their footing under themselves. There were penalties. There were missed opportunities. There were great defensive plays. But all in all, I thought the Bengals had this thing. They were on the move, and then they kind of got stagnant there. And I always felt like if the Bengals struggled, it would be their inability to run the football that would ultimately do them in. I don't think Joe had much help tonight. Let's see. It really wasn't that bad, but it wasn't bad because of Joe Burrow. Burrow ran it 4 times for 30 yards. They had a great quarterback draw on a third down with Burrow. There was another play. They were kind of pinned down deep. And how about Townsend, the punter for the Chiefs? He was an all-pro this year. You saw why tonight. Just about every time they needed a big punt from him, specifically when they got into that midfield range and he had to punt, you cannot kick that football into the end zone. That is a death sentence. He kicked that thing not only inside the 10, but inside the 5 on several occasions, out of bounds, coffin, kick style, coffin corner style. He was outstanding. But 17 rushes for 71 yards. Sounds good, right? 4.2 average. Take out Joe Burrow's 4 rushes for 30 yards, and you're left with 13 carries for 41 yards between Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon. The run game just simply wasn't there for the Bengals. And so you're putting it all on the shoulders of Joe Burrow again. And he's fully capable. He's fully capable. But he did throw 2 interceptions in this game. You got to give those young defenders some credit. I thought that young secondary of the Chiefs, who they scared the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie to you. Jalen Watson and, Cook, the rookie safety out of Cincinnati, James Cook, McDuffie, Trent McDuffie was fantastic. I mean, he had one play on a 3rd down and 17 where Burrow's rolling out to his left. If he doesn't deflect that football, that's going to be a 1st down. Who knows what that catch is going to happen somewhere around midfield. If he doesn't tip that, T's already setting his feet up. He's ready to get his feet down and catch that thing. Burrow's putting it right on him. That deflection just changed the trajectory of that football enough to where T. Higgins couldn't, keep his feet down and still pull that football in. McDuffie was outstanding. He got his hands on a couple of footballs, including like the first throw of the game. And then you obviously had, Watson with a pick and then Williams with a pick off of the deflection by Cook. So I thought that young secondary came of age, made some plays. They were huge in this game, keeping the Bengals out of the end zone a couple of times, forcing them to kick field goals. Same could be said for Cincinnati's defense, especially early in the game when the Chiefs were moving it. On those first 3 possessions, they don't rise up and hold them to field goals. It's a totally different game. So both defenses did a quality job of, limiting the damage after giving up some yardage. But when it was all said and done in that fourth quarter, the Bengals had their opportunities, man. And I thought there was a stretch there where I thought they were going to get it done. You just looked at the situation, and I'm going to tell you right now when it was. It was the Chiefs. Burrow threw an interception, okay? And it's picked off. It's like a punt, though. He threw it deep. Cook tipped it in the air. Williams, I don't know why he tried to go around. I want to say it was T. Higgins. They also lost Tyler Boyd. That really affected their pass game. I don't think he ever returned to the game, so that did hurt them as well. A lot of injuries in this game for both teams, specifically the Chiefs, but Boyd injury because he was converting early in the game on 3rd downs. Boyd was having a big game, and then he got injured. But it was this sequence here where they throw the interception. The Chiefs go 7 plays, 49 yards, but they can't get into scoring range. I thought that was their opportunity, right? And they didn't score there. And I'm thinking, oh, my God. They ended up punting that ball with roughly 2:36 in the game. And I'm thinking, oh, my goodness. Here it is. Well, really, let's go back. 9:26 mark is when the Chiefs punt. They went 8 plays, 18 yards. This is the possession where Burrow throws an interception. They got to the 36-yard line on a 3rd and 3, and Burrow got picked off. I was thinking, why are you going deep there? I know you've been having your way down the field a bit, but they're doubling. They're doubling all your receivers down the field. They're not taking any chances. And you had already run that same concept, that fake in and up. You'd already run that on the Jamar Chase play, And I remember typing this in the MOBB. If Cook just turns around on the Jamar Chase one, something similar to what happened on the pick would have happened. He was in great position. Just turn around, locate the ball. He had no idea where the ball was. And Chase goes up and makes a play on it. So they run that same concept to the opposite side, this time to T. Higgins, I believe. And a great play by Cook to tip it. Then it gets picked off by Williams. I thought he should have stopped and went back up the field instead of trying to go around the receiver who made the tackle. And he's, down at his own like 10-yard line or whatever the case may be. But after that, the Chiefs punted the football. They went on a little drive. They punted. And I'm thinking, and this was another great punt by Townsend to the 6-yard line. And this is when you had the Burrow intentional ground and all that stuff, but he still overcame it. I thought they were going to go get this field goal, man. But Chris Jones, who was a monster in this game, had 2 sacks, a couple of tackles for loss, drew up 1 or 2 holding penalties. He was a problem in this game. Burrow was sacked 4 times in the first half. How many times did he get sacked for the game? Burrow was sacked 5 times in the game. So, I mean, that's been a problem for the Bengals. It wasn't a problem last week, but it reared its ugly head, especially late in the game where he was under duress, had the intentional grounding. I didn't like that call, as I mentioned already, and then had the sack by Chris Jones on the 3rd down that forced the punt that led to the punt that was returned, damn near the midfield by Sky Moore, and then, of course, the Joseph Osai late hit out of bounds. Just unfortunate to put yourself in that position. I thought the Bengals had a couple of possessions in that 4th quarter after they scored the touchdown to tie the game up to win the game, and I thought Burrow was going to do it. I really, truly did. And they just couldn't get it done. I thought this game was destined for overtime after Burrow was able to complete that pass to the tight end, Hayden Hurst. After the intentional grounding, you're thinking that this drive is dead. It's 3rd and forever. And nobody picks up the tight end on the corner route. Unbelievably. He's so wide open. And I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe they're still going to get into a field goal range for shooter McPherson, and this thing may end the way that it did last year with a field goal. But it wasn't to be. They punt, and I'm thinking, as long as they don't give up a big return here, this game's going to overtime. Of course, they give up the big return. Chiefs still have 2 timeouts, and they ended up getting into field goal range and winning the game. It was a crazy game. This is a rivalry that I think we will see. Like, this gives me Colts, Patriots vibes from the early 2000s into the mid to the late 2000s into the early 2010s. This looks like a budding rivalry that we'll have for the next 7 to 10 years, straight up. Obviously, with the AFC being so competitive, similar to what it was with Peyton and Brady, you're going to have the Ben Roethlisbergers and the Phillip Rivers every so often interject their teams into the mix and kind of, blow shit up and not allow the rivalry to continue to rekindle itself year after year, because it's just so many really good quarterbacks in that conference that some point Justin Herbert is going to announce himself as a player in that conference. Obviously, Josh Allen and company aren't going away quietly and meekly into the night, although, looking at how things transpired, you would think maybe they are. They're not. They're going to be back. They're going to be around. And then you look at the rest of those teams. I don't know what's going to become of Tua and his concussion situation, but the Dolphins are a quality football team. Lamar Jackson will probably more likely than not be back in Baltimore. Who knows where Aaron Rodgers ends up? Probably with an AFC team more likely than not. If they're going to trade him, they're not going to trade him in the conference, right? So he's probably going to end up on an AFC team, which is going to make that team better. I think Russell Wilson and the Broncos cannot be counted out. I think they'll be around. So I said all of that to say this. That conference is loaded. And so we may not get this every year, right? But damn it, if these two teams won't be around, and you're going to have to go through one of these teams, if not both of them, to get ultimately where you want to go in the AFC. And so they're going to play each other again. They both won the division again. So we're going to get a regular season matchup with these two, which is the thing I love. When you get good football teams that win their division, you're guaranteed to see those two teams lock horns in the regular season. And that could be a precursor of things to come for the playoffs. So this is a budding rivalry that it's only getting better and better. You know, there are no blowouts in this thing. There are no letdowns. Every time these two teams play each other, we get this kind of performance. We got it the first time when Burrow led a epic comeback in a high-scoring game, like 34-31. Obviously, we got the playoff game that year, and we know what that was. You know, come back in overtime, win on a field goal after an interception thrown by Burrow, by Mahomes. You get another thriller in the regular season. Burrow gets the game-winning drive down the field. They win that football game. Epic contest in the regular season. And now you get this one, 23-20 on a last-second field goal by the Chiefs. Their first time beating Mahomes. So this has got rivalry written all over it, you know. And there's a lot of respect. There's a lot of trash talk between these two teams. Obviously, Burrowhead and all that stuff, which is why I changed my pick from Cincinnati to Kansas City, because I was leaning towards Cincinnati. But I said everything points to Cincinnati, which makes me believe it's going to be Kansas City. And it was. So we know the matchup now. Let's talk about the first game. Eagles and the 49ers. So before anybody, you know, sits there and talks about the 49ers being compromised, and they were, like, who are we kidding? The Eagles, like, Brock Purdy didn't scramble out of the pocket and just blow his Achilles, like, on a freak accident. Brock Purdy was hit while he was throwing the football. The Eagles knocked him out. That's the equivalent of what happened to Josh Johnson. They knocked their two quarterbacks out of the game. The Eagles did that, okay? Like, this wasn't something by happenstance where you can't control. The Eagles beat them up, period. End of discussion. The Eagles out-physicaled the 49ers. And I'll take it a step further. As much as I love Kyle Shanahan, Nick Sirianni out-coached Kyle Shanahan. So let's start from the beginning, because before Brock Purdy even stepped on the field, Kyle Shanahan made his most egregious mistake of the day. And for me, I wish I could coach, because I don't know why these NFL coaches don't get this particular item, okay? This thing blows my mind. When I see this happen, I tend to lose my shit. Even if it's not my team, it's even worse when it is my team. And this happened to my team against these same Eagles earlier this season with the same damn player in this particular play in question. At the beginning of a game like this, what was the thing that I said going into this game? You cannot, if you are San Francisco, you cannot, under any circumstances, let the Eagles get off to a fast start. You're on the road. They are bloodthirsty in Philadelphia. You were out massacring the Rocky statue. They want blood. And they're going to come out with their first 15 scripted, and they're going to try to move this bitch down the field and score. You can't let that happen. And they were playing quality defense, and they had an opportunity. And Nick Sirianni, he's been aggressive. And look, this shit is all fine and dandy, and everybody's all smiles, and this shit is great when it works. Had that shit not worked, had the 49ers challenged like Shanahan should have, that shit was incomplete. And this is how I knew it was incomplete. We never saw an angle. And I don't give a shit. As a coach, if I see a player get up and he's telling the offense, get your ass up here and snap the shit. Soon as Devontae Smith got up, he didn't look like a guy that was confident he caught the shit. He's getting up going like this. Whatever this shit means, that means get your ass up here. We're going to run some bullshit ass plays so they can't challenge. The minute I see the receiver get up and do that, I'm throwing the challenge flag. Even if I'm not sure, he could be playing my ass. That's a one-hand grab, bro. I ain't sure he caught that shit. I'm trying. It's too big of a play. This ain't the second half with 7:32 left in the third quarter and you've already burned a timeout because you had to avoid a delay of game and you don't want to waste another timeout. This is the first half of the first quarter of an important drive with fourth down. This isn't third down, and if you challenge this, they got a punt, or he may go for it and still get it. This is fourth down. You're going to get excellent field position. You have to challenge this call. There's no way they can run 40 yards down the field. I don't give a shit how quickly their linemen get down there without you throwing a challenge flag. You have to throw the challenge flag there if you're Kyle Shanahan. He let his team down right there. You cannot do that in the NFC Championship game. You can't. Can't do that in the championship game. You have to throw the flag. Nick Sirianni threw the challenge flag. His players were going up to him and telling him, hey, that's a fumble. Brock Purdy fumbled. You got to throw the challenge flag. He threw the challenge flag. Shanahan had to throw the challenge flag. And I get it. The 49ers weren't rushing up to the line of scrimmage and trying to snap the ball quickly. It doesn't matter. He threw the challenge flag. You did it. And at the end of the day, that's what changed this game. 49ers defense came on the field. They got the stop that they needed after the fumble, forced the punt. 49ers actually take the ball down the field, score a touchdown, tie the damn game up at 7. So the defense did their job, but it doesn't matter. The Eagles should have never scored that first touchdown. You should have the football. Who knows what the game turns into? Maybe you call it differently if that first touchdown doesn't happen. I don't know. But you can't do that if you're Kyle Shanahan. Then I thought that, like, I really felt like Shanahan he missed the boat on a lot of things in this game. You're very limited. Once Brock Purdy goes down, and we can sit here and nitpick. I'm not a big fan, and I get it. There are certain concepts when you're trying to throw the football down the field. You want to show the same run action fake that you were showing when you actually ran it. I get it. So that may involve your tight ends blocking. I get all of that. I understand how these things work. This is my thing. If I'm playing against a team with a guy that has 16 sacks on the season and like 7 forced fumbles, I am not allowing my third string tight end to block him one-on-one. I am sorry. I'm just not. How about a double team on him? How about you got 2 tight ends to that side, right? How about both of those tight ends block him? Or this is just a novel concept, just a thought. One tight end blocks him, and then there's a running back waiting behind to chip just in case he beats the tight end like he did on that particular play. But I'm not going to give Hassan Reddick one-on-one with the third string tight end, Tyler Kroft. I'm not going to do that. I don't understand why teams think that that's okay. You got 5 able-bodied offensive linemen, and somehow you choose to put a tight end on an edge rusher. I just don't understand that concept. But whatever. That's how Brock Purdy got hurt. I put that on Kyle Shanahan. He should not have been in that position. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is they did all they could do. After you get your quarterback hurt and you're on your 4th string quarterback, because it was funny. I was sitting and watching the game and I'm thinking, how could you allow Josh Johnson to be your immediate backup coming into the biggest game of your season? But I thought about it. Bro, they were already on their 3rd string quarterback. What are you talking about? Like their 1st string quarterback, Trey Lance, got hurt in the 3rd game of the season. Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt in week 14, and now they're on their 3rd string quarterback. Brock Purdy is their 3rd string quarterback. And they have been winning games with their 3rd string quarterback. So you can't complain about the 4th string quarterback coming in and being ass. We were on the 4th string quarterback. What do you want to do? Then he gets knocked out of the game with a concussion. And I knew he had a concussion when his teammate is in front of him with his hand out trying to help him up for like 15 seconds. And Josh Johnson is staring into space. And he's not, using that teammate's hand to help him up. I'm like, there's no way he's pissed off because that was the guy that gave up the pressure that got him the hit. I said, there's no way he's pissed off at that guard for getting beat. He's just in space right now. He's in la la land. I said, I bet you he's got a concussion. Sure enough, they showed the replay. And again, I thought the Fox crew, this is the first game that I thought that they did where they were awful. I thought Greg Olsen and I forgot the play-by-play guy. They were bad. It was too much of them not acknowledging that these were bad calls, and there was too much time spent on the 49ers fourth string quarterback. Well, guess what? The Eagles knocked the third stringer out, the fourth stringer out, and now they've got to figure out how the hell they're going to run offense. Talk about that. There was too much talking about the 49ers quarterback situation, and it was too much, skipping over these penalties. Oh, is this a good call, Mike Pereira? No, it's not a good call. No, we've watched the playoffs for the last 2 weeks. That's not a good call. However, with that said, I was shocked. This was the only thing that shocked me. After Brock Purdy got hurt, I knew this game was over, because that's why it was so important. And obviously hindsight is 2020, but that's why it was so important that if you're Kyle Shanahan, you don't allow that first touchdown to happen by challenging. They're going to have to tell me that they didn't have any angles that showed the ball on the ground, and fine. I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with throwing a challenge flag, losing a timeout, losing a challenge on the first possession of the game. But this is important, because even if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, you couldn't have a shootout with the Eagles. You didn't want to get into a shootout with them. This needed to be a game that was down into the low 20s, mid 20s at best. You didn't want this thing to go high 20s into the 30s. That's not where you want to be. So this was an opportunity for you to take points off the scoreboard for them. The thing that I was shocked about was how well the Eagles ran the football. They ran the football very effectively on San Francisco in this game. I did not see that coming. That was the thing that caught me off guard. And even if Brock Purdy is healthy, they still were struggling stopping the run consistently in the game. They had their moments, but they didn't stop the run well enough. Let's look at the Eagles rushing statistics in this game. I felt like watching this live that the Eagles were just having their way. Kenneth Gainwell was huge in this game. Let's see. The Gainwell 14 for 48. So really, it wasn't that bad as I thought. They rushed for 148 yards, but they rushed it 44 times for 3.4 yards. It really wasn't that bad, honestly speaking. But it felt like it in a moment watching it. Like, man, they're getting a little too much here. Especially when they got into the red zone. Miles Sanders had damn near 2 untouched rushing touchdowns. You can't allow that. You got to force Hurts. And I thought Hurts was awful in this game. He was awful. This is the second week in a row where he wasn't forced to win the game. And that's why you got to give Philadelphia credit. You got to give Howie Roseman credit. You got to give them credit for building a team that can kind of insulate the quarterback position, because as far as Jalen Hurts has come as a passer, he's still got a long way to go. And with this injury that he has incurred, he hasn't been right throwing the football. He wasn't good. He barely had 50% completion percentage in this game. He was 15 of 25 for 121 yards. He was not good. There are two of those completions. A.J. Brown on the first possession has to go down and dig one out. That's a hell of a catch. And then the Devontae Smith one-hander, that wasn't a good ball, right? And that wasn't even a catch. So he missed A.J. Brown on a potential touchdown. If it's not a touchdown, it's a big gain, at least 40-some-odd yards. He wasn't good in this game. He wasn't good last week. But they are so good as a roster, as a team. They make up for any deficiencies that they may have on the offensive side, specifically at the quarterback position, with their ability to run the football, the turnovers that they can create, and things of that nature. I just thought they were fantastic everywhere else other than the quarterback throwing the football. Even him running the football was really good for them, because it created doubt within the 49ers, run defense. Hurts as a runner, which is why I talked about the importance of him being a runner and what that means to their offense. Just his ability to keep it, force the 49ers to have to stay at home a second longer. And then if he gives it, now that guy's out of position, and that's how you get Miles Sanders untouched into the end zone on a 6-yard touchdown run, or Miles Sanders for a 13-yard untouched touchdown, jaunt. So again, Shane Steichen should get tons of credit for what he's been able to draw up this season. I actually thought the 49ers ran the ball like I thought they would be able to, which is a shame that if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, the mixture of what Christian McCaffrey was killing those boys on the ground. Absolutely crushing them, just like I thought he would. McCaffrey in this game, 15 carries, 84 yards. And a lot of that came after Purdy. Purdy only threw the ball 4 times, and he got hurt 2 of 2 in the game. So he got hurt on like the second possession of the game. Most of this yards that McCaffrey got was when the Eagles knew he was running, and they still couldn't stop the shit. They still couldn't stop it. So I knew they were going to run the ball on them. The Eagles' rush defense is still a problem. Unfortunately, they didn't get tested the way that they would have been tested had Brock Purdy not been hurt, because now Josh Johnson comes in, and I don't respect Josh Johnson. Neither did the Eagles, and they shouldn't have, and they weren't afraid of him. And then he gets knocked out of the game. And once that happened, what are you going to do now? You can't even throw a pass. The only thing Brock Purdy can do is throw a screen. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before in a playoff game. I've seen quarterbacks get injured before. I've never seen a team be reduced to essentially Christian McCaffrey coming out at one point, and they were working on his helmet to put the actual green dot, technology in his helmet so that he can hear the plays from the offensive coordinator. I've never seen this in game. And then Kyle was like, F that. Just give him back his helmet. Purdy's coming in the game. We're just going to hand the bitch off every snap. Like, wowzers. But again, the Eagles did that. They knocked Brock Purdy out of the game. They knocked Josh Johnson out of the game. I mean, they did that. I mean, wow. That was impressive. That was really impressive. I would have loved to have seen what the 49ers could have done with a healthy Brock Purdy. But McCaffrey was outstanding in this game. And for anybody that wants to say, because I know Eagles fans, well, you got one big run and they missed tackles, and he had 23-yard run. That was a touchdown. That's it. He still kicked your ass. Okay, 6 yards a carry almost, 5.5 per pop. Okay, it wasn't one big run. He was consistently getting 6 and 4. Yeah, there were 1-yard runs in there. There should have been more yards lost. You knew he couldn't do anything else but hand it off to McCaffrey, and you still weren't stopping it. But the good thing is, I don't think either of the teams in the AFC that you were going to have to play, neither of them are really strong rush offenses. So you won't really have to worry about that in the next game. So I don't really think the run defense of the Eagles will really truly be tested the way that it should, because the teams that you're going to play against aren't looking to really throw the football. I'm actually kind of glad that you drew the Chiefs, even though they're super banged up, because you would have had a field day against Burrow. With that offensive line, your guys would have been going to work. You saw what Chris Jones did today? Imagine the Eagles, off the defensive front, getting a chance to get after that Bengals offensive line. If you thought Burrow was under duress tonight, he was sacked 5 times, waited until you would have got a load of what the Eagles would have done to that front next, in 2 weeks. So it's probably best that it's the Chiefs with a better offensive line that can protect Mahomes a little bit better. Mahomes has got 2 weeks to get his ankle feeling a lot better, and Kelsey's got 2 weeks to get his back feeling better. I don't know what the extent of the Juju Smith-Schuster injury is. I don't know the extent of the Kadarius Toney injury. I don't know how badly that Mecole Hardman re-aggravated his groin, but they need all hands on deck. So they got a lot of guys banged up right now. They're going to have to figure some shit out because obviously the good thing is Justin Watson was inactive tonight. They can always bring him back up. He's been a huge part of their offense this year. So, worst case scenario, if Mecole Hardman is out, you just bring back Justin Watson and you hope that Juju Smith-Schuster can come back. And if Kadarius Toney can't, then you're fine. You'll be all right with all the guys that you have. You still got this is why you added as many guys as you did for these exact moments where injuries start to mount, but you've still got enough depth between MVS, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, and company. You still got enough guys out there that you trust you can get the football to. So it's a dominant performance by the Eagles, especially considering Hurts wasn't very good for the second straight week. But the ability to get after the other team's quarterback, like I've been hesitant to give them credit for the 70 sacks that they've had. That's a lot, by the way. 70 sacks in a season. Are you kidding me? It's a lot of damn sacks. I've been hesitant because I'm like, these are coverage sacks. These aren't immediate wins. No, these were immediate wins. They were kicking ass up front, getting to the quarterback, and they did that today for sure. Like, they really put the 49ers in a tough spot. And it's a shame because this had a chance to be a really good game. You could see that defense was ready. Hurts and that Eagles offense really weren't very good. You know, I think that drive where they had all of those penalties, and again, the Eagles were getting stopped on third down after third down after third down, and the officials were bailing them out on third down after third down. It was egregious to watch, to be honest with you. It was tough to watch them call these penalties. That said, and most of them were penalties. No one's saying that these weren't fouls, but you haven't been calling them, and that was the problem I had. Remember the 2020 playoff game with the Packers and the Buccaneers, and they were letting these guys fight in the secondary the entire game, and then in the most critical moment, they decided to throw a flag. It was holding. Nobody's debating that it was holding, but you haven't been calling it all game, and guys have been getting mugged. I just want consistency. That's it. That's all I've ever asked for, is consistency across the board. And that's not what we got in this game. That's not what we got in the nightcap. It wasn't consistent with what we've seen from the postseason. It was a mess. But I thought that possession broke their back, not the Josh Johnson turnover. That possession, in conjunction with the Josh Johnson fumble, that broke their back. That possession, though, they thought they got off the field 3 times, and they didn't, because the officials decided that the drive wasn't over. And so you give up a touchdown there. That was like 15 plays too. I mean, it was gut-wrenching to give it up the way that they did there. And then to give up the touchdown right thereafter, there was no coming back. 14-7 felt like, oh man, that with Josh Johnson. Oh man, that's gonna be tough. They couldn't give up touchdowns. They only could give up field goals in my mind. With Josh Johnson in, you got to win this thing like how you won against Green Bay last year in the divisional round. You got to win this bitch 13-10, 16-30. Like, you couldn't give up touchdowns. Not with Josh Johnson in the game. When they gave up that touchdown on that drive, I said, uh-oh, they're in trouble. They're in trouble because they're not scoring many more points. That fumble, and then that defense was gassed at that point. And they were getting frustrated. Then once they gave up that touchdown, it was 21. The game was over. You could have turned the game off. You could have ran errands. The game was over. With Josh Johnson at quarterback, they weren't scoring 21 points. Game was over. And the Eagles weren't done scoring, and you had to know that. Anyway, let's get to the comment section. I'm going to assume that it's full of Eagles fans bitching after going to the Super Bowl. That's my guess. I could be wrong. My guess is it's full of Eagles fans bitching about me talking about them winning, because that's what Eagles fans do best. Let's see what they have to say. Mike Jank, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Mike Jank, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB Rights. Louie Lou, what's good, my guy? How are thou? I'm good, man. The same way I felt going into the game, I feel leaving the game. This is what I needed to convey to people, specifically Eagles fans, because I think y'all think I care more than I do. I don't. Some people really get wrapped up in this stuff. Like, they hate the Eagles or the Cowboys or the Giants winning as much as they hate Washington losing. That's not me. I don't have a dog in the fight. My team isn't playing, so I'm not emotionally invested. I don't give a shit. Would I prefer the Eagles to lose? You're damn right. I don't want them winning shit, but I'm not losing any sleep over them going to the Super Bowl. I'm not losing any sleep if they win the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl. The only way I'm going to be emotionally affected is if it's my team. So I'm good. I feel the same way about the Eagles as I felt going into the game. That if Brock Purdy plays this game, I think you're going to lose this football game. I felt that way going into the game. I feel that way after watching the game. They got dominated up front by using tight ends to block defensive ends. I don't understand that concept, and I never will. When my team does it, we got torched this season doing that, and I cussed about it then, and I'm still baffled by it now. Why is it okay when you're going heavy play action fake to use a tight end when you know you need time for these deep developing routes down the field? Why do you think it's okay to have your tight end blocking a real edge rusher, a guy with 16 sacks on the season? Why do you think that's okay to have it where you need 4 or 5 seconds to try to push the ball down the field? That's just not smart to me. That's not smart football. But they ran the football just like I thought they would be able to. The only thing that shocked me, I thought the defense could make, Jalen Hurts come off of his first and second read. They did that. He did not look good in this game. Everything that I thought could happen came to fruition, except I couldn't have accounted for 2 quarterbacks getting hurt. But once Brock Purdy got hurt, it didn't matter Josh Johnson getting hurt. Once Brock Purdy got hurt, the game was over. I didn't account for the Eagles being able to run the football the way that they did. I thought they ran it very effectively. But does that change if Brock Purdy's healthy and the 49ers are actually moving the football and able to score some points? Maybe it does change the way that you're able to attack. It's much easier as a coordinator to stay consistent with the run when you know the other team, they're not going to score very many points. Shane Steichen had to know, I don't really have to force Jalen to do too much because they can't score on the other side. They have Josh Johnson, and then they didn't have Josh Johnson. So I'm good. I feel the same way. I like the match. I actually like the matchup for you in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. I actually think that's one that you can handle. If you can get pressure on Mahomes, you have a really good shot at winning. I'm not that impressed with the Chiefs defense, even though I thought they played well today. They haven't seen an offense like yours. They play against Baltimore, and that's similar, but it ain't the same. You guys create different problems and different matchup issues that they haven't seen. I think you actually match up well with Kansas City. I thought Burrow and company might have been a worse challenge just because they got 3 receivers and Burrow and all of that stuff. But Mahomes is a beast unto itself. We already know that. But if they can't protect him, and I'm not sure if they'll be able to or not, we'll see. If they can protect him, he could carve up your secondary. But if they can't protect him, I'm not sure. I mean, I saw guys for the 49ers running wide open down the field, and it's Josh Johnson, man. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So I feel the same way. I don't feel any different. I felt like the 49ers were going to win the game if Brock Purdy would have been healthy. I still feel that way after watching the game, but he wasn't healthy. So it is what it is. Yo, breath hot, rather get shot than talk to you a lot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, Lou, you think Andy Reid would have been successful here or just another coach whose legacy would have been destroyed? Probably the latter, just another coach's legacy who would have been destroyed. You can't win anything of note with Dan Snyder as your owner. This case, you just can't. End of discussion. Daniel Snyder has to be gone and eradicated from your organization for you to have a fighting chance. Whenever there's an owner who imparts himself and tells you what you should or shouldn't do from a personnel standpoint, who tells you you're drafting this quarterback because I want this guy, you can't win football games that way. You can't win with the distraction, the constant distraction of what Daniel Snyder and the organization were doing in the past and this, that, and the third. You can't win. You can't be successful in an environment where your owner undermines the head coach and tells the quarterback, you don't have to run those plays if you don't want to. Yeah, he wouldn't have been successful here. So glad that we may be getting from under that tyranny here shortly. Your breath hot, rather get shot than talk to you a lot. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you, writes. Also, what's up with the watch party? Do a poll. You are really hell-bent on this watch party. Your breath hot, rather get shot than talk to you a lot, writes. Kellen Moore was let go. Think Mike's the problem? Well, Mike's going to find out. If I'm getting fired, I've always said this about coaches in this league. If I'm going to get fired, let it be on my terms. Let it be because I didn't get shit done, not because somebody else didn't get shit done. So all Mike is doing is saying, we had a interception thrown by Dak Prescott down in the red zone of a game that we we could have taken firm control of had we scored right before half. On a 2nd and 2, we got Dak throwing the football instead of us running the ball, getting that first down and resetting the downs and having a chance to score in these boys. I don't love the play caller. I'd rather be the one in control of the play caller. I don't blame him for that. I've always said Kellen Moore is overrated. I think most Dallas fans will be the first to tell you that as well. And so he'll get an opportunity. We'll see where he ends up. And he may end up being really good for another team. He wasn't good for the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy's like, if I'm going to get fired, it's going to be because I'm calling the plays and I wasn't good enough. It won't be because Kellen Moore was calling the plays and we weren't good enough. I don't blame him for that. B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, egregious missed hole on the Mahomes scramble. I missed that. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. I told you the officiating in both games were uneven. I thought that the 49ers were picked on in their game. I thought the Bengals were picked on in this last game. I wasn't a fan of the officiating, and you just hate to see it be done that way. I would just rather the officials, it's got to be something egregious for the flag to come out. Not, a guy underneath being aggressive and physical with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's a physical guy. I'm going to be physical with his big ass 5 yards and in. Don't throw that flag on me. He's a big ass dude. He's physical with us. We getting physical with him. Mahomes is scrambling out. They called a penalty. I thought that they had some calls that they made that I was like, okay, I can see that. That's a foul. And then there were calls like, for instance, the James Cook hit on Hayden Hurst. On live TV, it looked like bang, bang, right? That was a great job by that official of seeing that be an early hit by Cook that forced that ball to carry him in the air and be picked off. Because to the untrained eye, to the guy watching at home, that looked like bang, bang. Ball gets there, he gets there, ball carries in the air, is picked off. But they slowed it down. He was there way early. That's a great call, right? Every call wasn't a bad call. But there's certain ones where you just like, come on, the Mike Hilton one, the Jimmy Ward one on the third, that's a big one because it's 7-7 at that point of the game. That's a third down stop, and you're forcing a punt. And the 49ers had scored on the last possession, so they've got momentum. That's a big call. You know what I'm saying? Like, they missed some stuff. They missed some stuff for sure. I wouldn't doubt that they missed one on that Mahomes scramble at the end. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, Chris. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hey, Lou, hope all is well with you and the fam. Likewise, Chris writes, how much more octane will the Commanders offense have with Eric Bieniemy as OC and why? I hate really talking about hypotheticals. I do. And I don't know. Nobody really knows what he is as a play caller. I think that's part of the reason why he wants to spread his wings and sort of fly away. He wants to see what's out there because I think I'm guilty of this. I don't think he's calling the plays in Kansas City. I think it's Andy Reid calling these plays. I think he's just the mouthpiece that's actually verbalizing it into the helmet of Mahomes, but Andy Reid's behind all of this stuff. So I don't think anybody's giving him credit for the success of the Chiefs offense. It's going to Andy Reid, and I think it should. So in order for him to prove to everyone that, hey, I'm actually really good at this, he has to go to Tennessee or to the Jets or to, I think the Jets have already filled theirs with Nathaniel Hackett. But he's got to go to somewhere like Tennessee or Baltimore or Washington. He's got to go to a team that has some talent, but needs some play calling to infuse some life into their offense. And if he does it right, he'll get a head coaching job. I can't tell you what he'll add because we don't know what he is as a play caller. All we hope is that some of the Kansas City magic and the creativity rubbed off on him. Being in that building for as many years as he has been, you hope that some of that creativity has rubbed off on him and it will help you in certain situations. But the Chiefs are horrible in third down and short, because they get too cute and fancy. Like, what's wrong with an Isaiah Pacheco run right up the middle? Like, he's really good at that. Pacheco is a tough SOB. Like, what's wrong with that? 3rd and 1, I don't need the cute shovel pass. I don't need you trying a fake here. One of their favorite plays to run over the years, if you're a Chiefs fan, you can attest to this. It's the fullback dive. They'd line the fullback up, hand it off to him real quick. Teams got wind of that shit, start stopping it. So now they're getting cute. Now it's jet sweeps and it's tosses and it's Mahomes rolling out to his right. It's roll out and then flip it to Travis Kelce. It's all kinds of cute shit. In this game, they had a 3rd and 1 and they did some weird, wacky shit. It ended up being 4th and 1, and that's when Mahomes threw the touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. They just run the shit with Pacheco, man. Like, why are you making this hard? And that could be, Eric Bieniemy could be a part of that. That's not a good trait to have, that you're struggling on 3rd and short. That's not a good trait to have as a play caller. Brown Shoe T2, my guy BST2. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, refs giving the Chiefs multiple chances at third downs has me livid. Some of the worst officiating I've seen in my life. At least we made it to the AFC Championship game. I wouldn't disagree with you. I didn't love the officiating in either one of the games today. As I mentioned, I'm not sure that especially in the first game, even though that one drive, I thought that was the one that was debilitating to the 49ers. If they force a punt, which they did 3 times on that drive, but had penalties, keep that drive alive. Then maybe they stay in that game longer than they did. They weren't going to win without Brock Purdy. I don't think that changed the outcome of the game. The Eagles were the better team, especially once Brock Purdy got hurt. But in the Bengals game, some of those calls definitely hurt Cincinnati, but I don't know if it, altered the outcome of the game. As I mentioned, a lot of the bigger calls that I disagreed with, they were overcome by said team. Bengals, I thought that was not intentional grounding on Joe Burrow. They got a first down to Hayden Hurst 2 plays later. 3rd and forever, and he gets like 30 yards, or 25 yards or whatever. They overcame it. They run out on the field, and it's 3rd down. They got to stop. It's 4th down after they get a stop and force a 4th and 4. And you're telling me they get a do-over? I've never seen anything like. I've never seen this in the NFL, where an actual play takes place. The teams have run their special teams units onto the field, and the official stops the game, tells them to move the clock back 20 seconds, put 10 seconds on the play clock. We're going to do 3rd down over again. I've never seen that before. They sack Patrick Mahomes, but then they call Eli Apple for holding. So you get the first down. But you know what? You ended up getting a stop on that possession. So it doesn't matter. It's just crazy. I didn't love the officiating either. Your breath hot, rather get shot than talk to you a lot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, never watched the Bengals play. They're good on defense, man. They're really good on defense. We've talked about this. That's why I was so shocked at how Mahomes was having such success early. I wasn't expecting that. And, even when he was having some success, it was like this close. The touchdown pass to MVS, Mike Hilton's right there, and he dives, and he's just a split second late. But it's a game of inches. We hear that all the time. Plays like that illustrate that. It's a game of inches. They're good defensively, man. Between Trey Hendrickson and BJ Hill and Joseph Osai and, all of those guys that can get after the quarterback and Sam Hubbard, their linebackers, you know how I feel about Wilson. And Jermaine Pratt is interesting because he's a free agent. I think they got to have him back. He's outstanding at linebacker. They're young in the secondary. Well, younger now. They got some old heads, Von Bell and, Bates. Jesse Bates is been there a little while now. He's a veteran now, and Eli Apple. But Daxton Hill is young. Cam Taylor-Britt is young. They infused some youth into that secondary. So I've been really impressed. Mike Hilton's a veteran. I wanted him in free agency a couple of years ago. I keep talking about it. I know y'all like, all right, shut up about that already, Louis T. Love me some Mike Hilton, man. I thought they were going to be a little bit more aggressive in coming after Mahomes. I was actually shocked that we didn't see more blitzing from Lou Almirono in this game. But you pick your poison, because with the way MVS was playing in this game, you blitz, and he's a slant or one catch and a broken tackle away from going the distance. And in a game like this, that could be the difference between winning and losing. You don't want to give up the big play. Make them earn it. Make them go 11 plays, 73 yards. Don't have it be a 6-play, 73-yard drive with a 58-yard touchdown strike. Make them earn it. That Bengals defense is really good. Video Channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video Channel writes, what's good, Lou? Thoughts on Joseph Osai? I felt bad for him. I said this in the MOBB chat. I really feel bad for him. He was over there boo-hooing, man. Sobbing. The game's over. He's sitting on the bench. He can't get up. Because in that moment, you feel like I cost the team the game. There are plenty of plays that happen. I always liken it to, losing close games suck, because when you get your ass whooped, you don't overanalyze the game. You don't play it back in your mind. You don't think about this one snap or that one snap. When you play basketball and, you lose by one, you start thinking about, man, I had that good look at the 3-point line, in the second quarter, and I got to knock that down and make that. I missed 3 free throws in the game. I make one of those free throws. We're tied. I make 2 of them. We win the game. Like, you start thinking about those things, right? Had a nice reverse layup. Yeah, it was a little bit of contact. They didn't blow the whistle. I got to finish through that contact. You start thinking about that stuff. Joseph Osai won't sleep a wink tonight. He'll be thinking about that roughing the late hit out of bounds, unnecessary roughness penalty. And he had a hell of a game, consistently putting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. But no one will talk about that. All they'll talk about is that hit out of bounds. That's unfortunate. Good young player out of Texas, man. Bright future ahead of him. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, quite a few storylines. Reed going against his old team, Kelsey brothers, and Ndamukong Suh in his 3rd Super Bowl in as many teams. Top 2 MVP candidates battle. There are a lot of storylines. Andy Reid, as you mentioned, going against his former team. I think the Kelsey brothers will probably be the biggest storyline. I think they'll be co-favorites with Andy Reid going up against the Eagles organization. I think I saw something like Reid. I heard something like Reid is the all-time winningest head coach in Eagles history, and he's 1 win away from being the all-time winningest head coach in Chiefs history. So there'll be a lot made of that situation. And then the Kelsey brothers, how can you not make a big deal out of it? Kelsey's brother, Jason, decided to come back. He was thinking about retiring. That's why the Eagles drafted the center in the 2nd round this past year, because they thought they were going to have to replace Jason Kelsey. He decides to come back, and he's in the Super Bowl. So he made a great decision, and this is probably going to be the last time, because he's probably going to hang it up here shortly. So they're going to cherish this. They do a podcast together. So, it's going to be a big effing deal, right? So that's a massive storyline. And like you said, there are probably going to be plenty more things that we haven't even thought of that are going to come up during this thing. It's amazing, though, to look at some of the statistics that I've seen with the Chiefs in particular. You got Kelsey climbing up the ladder on, touchdown grabs in the playoffs and receiving yards in the playoffs and catches in the playoffs and all that good stuff. But the Mahomes one is the one that blows my mind. All-time AFC champion, all-time championship game touchdown passes. And I'm thinking to myself, he's already, I think he's 2nd now. I think he came into the game 3rd on the list behind Brady, of course, and Montana. He passed Montana today, and he's 2nd on that list with 13, I think. And Brady's somewhere in the stratosphere. I don't even remember. His number was so egregious that I don't even know where it was. But Mahomes probably can catch him at some point. And the thing that was startling was Mahomes is in year 6, but really year 5 as a starter. And he's played in 5 AFC championship games. And the other thing was Brady had all these touchdowns, but he played in so many championship games to amass the number that he had. And Mahomes isn't that far away. I think he was probably like 8 or 9 touchdown passes away. He's only been in 5 of them. He's already thrown like 13 touchdowns. It's crazy. I don't think people really fully grasp what the Chiefs have done. I remember I used to always say, you guys really need to take in how good Peyton Manning has been in his career, how good Tom Brady has been. Like, you start to take those guys for granted because they're so good. You just come to expect this. And when it doesn't happen, you're kind of like shocked. But when it does happen, you don't really acknowledge it the way that you should because it's Patrick Mahomes. He does the things we're accustomed to seeing him do. This shit isn't normal. I just want people to understand that. This is going to be a fun matchup. Chiefs and Eagles. They played in the regular season last year, and that was a fun game. And it was a shootout. Now, that was a different Chiefs team because they couldn't stop a nosebleed last year defensively. They're a different team defensively this year. They're much better defensively. Are they good enough defensively? I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure. Your breath hot, rather get shot than talk to you a lot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, that Fire Country show looks so corny. Why? You know what? The crazy part is you were talking about it in the MOBB. I still don't know what the hell you're talking about. They probably showed a preview for it 50 million times. I wasn't paying attention to that shit. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, man, that was an epic meltdown if I've ever seen one. Purdy couldn't break the glass ceiling, and it was because of an injury. Team followed suit. Trent suplexing that guy was pretty great, though. It laughing my ass off. It was. That was fun to watch because he got mad. We've seen Trent get mad before. Remember when he mushed Dick Sherman at the end of the Seahawks game? When Trent gets pissed off, he turns into that what do they call him? Silverback? Turns into that damn gorilla. All right. The 49ers literally imploded though. You could see the frustration. Like some of the penalties were like the Dre Greenlaw punching of the football. That's not a penalty. Was it excessive? Sure. He didn't hit Miles Sanders or Gainwell or whoever the hell had the ball. He didn't hit him once. He hit the ball 3 times. What are you throwing the flag for there, buddy? They got a punt there. Or at a bare minimum, kick a field goal. Why are you giving them a free 15 yards? For what? You know what that is? You go to Dre Greenlaw after that play, you pull him aside and you say, hey, you do that again, I'm going to throw the flag. That's unnecessary. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to force a fumble. Don't do that. What do you need to throw the flag for? Like, that's dumb. Again, the game was out of hand. That didn't alter the outcome of the game. It's just dumb. It's dumb officiating. It's unnecessary. But you could see that they were imploding. You know, they were starting to get frustrated. The Talanoa Hufanga push of Hurts out of bounds, that's dangerous, number one, because he fell on his shoulder. Like, you don't want to see that shit. That was a frustration push. He was well out of bounds. No need to even put your hands on him at that point. That's definitely a penalty. So yeah, you could see them, and I got why their defense was frustrated because they felt like they were getting picked on, you know. And in order to win after Purdy gets hurt, they needed a flawless performance out of their defense, and the officials didn't give them a chance. They didn't give them a chance. So that's kind of why they were getting upset. But they definitely imploded. Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I didn't see either of those teams beating Philly. Hopefully Mahomes will be closer to 100%, but Juju, Hardman, and a couple guys went down too. I thought both of those teams, and I still do think that both of those teams could give Philadelphia a run for their money. With all the injuries like this, I felt good about the Chiefs before Kelsey had the back. I don't know how significant that is. Obviously, the 2 weeks being off will help the Chiefs significantly. Mahomes will be much better from a health standpoint going into the game. Again, he'll be one hit one play away from being at 93% and being down to 61%, just like that. And then it only gets progressively worse from there. Once you have that one hit or that one false step that triggers that ankle, you're never the same, and it's going to hurt like hell. The good thing is, if you're a player and you have an injury, it's a nagger. It's not really like debilitating where you can't play. You just tell yourself, this is the last game of the season. I just got to let it all hang out. This is the biggest game. I can rest all off season. I got 4 months to be able to recuperate. I'm letting it all hang out. So from that standpoint, I think the Chiefs will be fine. But to your point, and I mentioned this already numerous times, they had a lot of injuries in this game. And we don't know the severity of them. We don't know how that's going to impact what they want to do. The Kelsey one is the one that does it for me because he's so big for what they do. He looked good today, but he was compromised. There were times where he would normally be on the field and be a target, and he wasn't out there. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be easy. But I do think they're capable of beating Philadelphia. But I like the Eagles' chances. I really, truly do. A lot more than I did going into the game before all these injuries took place. Let's see. Zach J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, can't lie, Lou. I didn't want Kansas City Cincinnati game to end. Sometimes when you're watching a good game, you don't want it to end. I remember thinking that last year watching the Buffalo Kansas City game. I remember watching the Cincinnati Kansas City game in the playoffs last year thinking, man, I just want this to keep going. And this was a good game. Although I wasn't, because the officials had, made their presence known, I wasn't as locked into, oh my God, this game is great as I normally am. That said, it was a good game. I thought we were going to get overtime. After the Burrow completion to Hayden Hurst, I thought there's no way. Either Cincinnati's winning this thing on a walk-off field goal, or they're going to punt this football and the Chiefs just won't have enough time to get in the field goal range and we're going to overtime. But you get the big punt return by Sky Moore, and then you get the 15-yard penalty by Joseph Osai, and voila, you're in field goal range. So didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, if the Bengals' #1 draft priority isn't O-line, then someone needs to be fired for malpractice. Here's the crazy part, is they haven't been neglecting the position or positions up front. Remember, they made it a total overhaul of their offensive line. They went out and got Lyle Collins from Dallas. They got Alex Kappa from the Bucks. I think they got somebody from the Patriots, I think. They really revamped that offensive line. They spent a first-round pick on Jonah Williams a few years ago. That hasn't necessarily been the best pick. He got injured his first year, and it really hasn't been great. Gave up a whole bunch of sacks, pressures, and I think he's got some holding issues too. But they've tried, man. It's not for a lack of trying, but they had some injuries. I mean, what can you do? That said, maybe you need to go draft some more guys. I don't know. I mean, it's hard when you're trying and then nothing that you seem to do works. It's tough. It's tough. Let's see. Shane Hilton, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shane writes, the O-line dominated the 49ers D-line. Simple as that. I wouldn't call it dominating. I just gave you the statistics for the run game. It really wasn't all that great, but I thought they ran it well enough, better than I thought they would. I thought Hurts, I told you, I didn't expect the 49ers to just get, flat out pressure because they didn't do that against Dallas last week. So I told you already, I told you everything in the game kind of happened the way that I thought it could have. Obviously, I couldn't have accounted for the injuries at the quarterback position, and I didn't account for the Eagles' success on the ground. I really thought that they would have a better handle. And again, I have to take into consideration that if Brock Purdy's out there and the 49ers are moving the football and they're scoring points, maybe it alters the way the Eagles, are running the football or calling their offense. And because if Hurts would, and this is what I was banking on, Hurts having to throw the ball, he was not effective today. He was not good. A lot of checkdowns. Okay. Nothing wrong with taking what the defense is giving you, right? He checked it down. Of his 15 completions, I'd venture to say that half of them were checkdowns. Okay. Nothing really down the field, which is why he only had 120 yards passing. Nothing down the field challenging this 49ers defense. And the one opportunity he had down the field, he missed. So he wasn't good. And that's what you wanted to do, was force him to beat you. And unfortunately, the injury to Purdy never really put the Eagles in a position where they had to throw it to win the game. And that's what I want to see somebody do, because I still don't think, especially after the injury, that he's in a position to beat you with his right arm. And that'll all, until he's consistently beating teams with his arm, that's always going to be my stance. If I'm playing against the Eagles, my number one goal is to take away the run game. I'm a Washington fan. I can tell you firsthand how we stayed in the game with Philadelphia the first time when they dominated us and sacked us 10 times. Their score was only 24-8. And they, for everybody out there that says, oh, they took their foot off. No, they kept trying to score. They couldn't. Jalen Hurts had a prolific passing game and one of them was a completion similar to the one that Devontae Smith had, where it should have been challenged and it might have been overturned early in that game. You got to throw the challenge flag there. But we took the run game out of the equation and we forced Hurts to beat us, and he did in that first game. That's what I want. If he doesn't, I tip my cap. Touche, you got me. Do it again. The second time we played them, we did the exact same thing, and he couldn't beat us, and he turned the football over. That's what you have to do. If you're going to beat the Eagles, you cannot let the run game be the crutch that takes Jalen Hurts off the hook. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm doing everything in my power to stop the run and make Jalen Hurts make that completion to A.J. Brown over the top. Make him throw that ball to Devontae Smith, because he's not accurate right now. He hasn't been since he's come back from this injury. Earlier in the season, he was dropping these shits in the bucket. Boom, boom, boom. He has been off. I haven't seen that MVP Jalen Hurts. He's already admitted, I'm not healthy yet. He won't be until the season is over and he's got time to rest. Make him beat you. Your O-line, or the Eagles O-line, because I don't know if you're an Eagles fan. I'm assuming you're an Eagles fan, but I don't know that to be true. The Eagles offensive line, they did everything that I thought they would be able to do from a pass protection standpoint, because the Cowboys did it. I said, if the Cowboys O-line could neutralize the 49ers pass rush, I know the Eagles offensive line is going to do that. I actually thought they did a really good job of keeping the cup, right? Keeping Hurts in the pocket, not letting him get outside the pocket. There were a number of throwaways. There were times where that pocket started to collapse and he got, nervous and antsy, and there was really nowhere for him to go. I thought they did a good job of doing that. Thought they did a good job of not, it's hard. That's the thing that makes it tough with Jalen Hurts. You can't just be aggressive. Well, really, you're seeing that with more teams. Like even with Joe Burrow in this game. You want to rush up the field? Burrow just step up and run. And he ran. There was a play where he ran for like 15 yards in the first down. You can't just rush up the field willy-nilly anymore. It's not how it used to be where, every now and again you'd have a quarterback mobile enough to take advantage of a guy rushing up the field and trying to turn the corner at 10 yards. If you can't turn that corner at 7.5, 8 yards, 8.5 at the latest, if you're trying to turn that bitch at 10 and you get pushed up the field, that's an easy lane for a quarterback to step up, either looking down the field and making a play or just taking off and running. I thought they did a pretty good job of keeping Hurts contained. It just, again, when they ran read option, when they ran RPO, they had no answers. I mean, they were just killing them up front. So I don't think it just boils down to offensive line of the Eagles dominating the 49. I don't buy that. I don't think that's what happened. Let's see. John Livingston, my guy JL Smooth. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, glad to see the Bengals go down. Hey, Eli Apple, Cancun on 3. Hey, Well, can't we just all get along? Can we let bygones be bygones? I mean, yeah. Eli Apple and his mama, boy, they make some enemies, don't they? Sheesh. He's an easy guy to not like. So, and you know, he's one of those dudes that talk shit, and you like, bro, you're not even nice though. Like, why are you talking of all people? You know, it'd be one thing if he was Jalen Ramsey. You know, you got a decorated career. You know, you were once viewed as the best corner in football, that sort of thing. Bro, you've been asked your entire career. You were a bust. You were almost out of the league. New Orleans saved your career. Like, what are you doing of all people talking? You consistently get cooked. But hey, he gonna talk his shit though. That's one thing he's gonna do. Your breath hot, rather get shot than talk to you a lot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, wish Trent would have done that to Sirianni. Nah, that ain't what it's about, man. That ain't what you're trying to do. You want to keep it between the white lines. I didn't have a problem with Trent slamming down the safety at that point because I didn't try to part y'all. Kayvon Wallace, why are you here? Back your ass up. You don't want to back up. He was frustrated. You could tell. I'm gonna back you up. And then really it was the Trent Williams slam that kind of dispersed everything. Right? Once he slammed him down, everybody was like, oh shit, you know, benches started to clear, and that's when the officials like, all right, everybody go to your bench. But until then, everybody grabbing face masks. Debo got one guy's face mask. He's got Debo's face mask. They won't let go. I'm like, yeah, look, it's an ass whooping. The game's over. Can we just get this shit over with, right? Let them finish running the clock out. Y'all already lost. This shit is over. Let's just go. So I actually appreciated Trent expediting that. Like, slam this dude. You both get ejected. Everybody go sit the hell down. Let's run out the final 5 minutes of this game so we can move on to the AFC Championship game. This shit is over with. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we are all Chiefs fans for the Super Bowl. F the Eagles. So this is where you're wrong. For me, yes, I don't want the Eagles to win, but guess what? I just don't want to see the shit I saw at 4:05. I just don't want to see that shit, okay? After the first quarter, when Brock Purdy was hurt, that wasn't a fun game to watch anymore. I always tell y'all the same shit. I just want to see a good game. My team isn't playing, okay? I just want to see a good game. I hated that the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, but you know what? That was a fan-effing-tastic game to watch. I was thoroughly entertained. That's all I ever ask, is that I'm entertained. My team isn't playing. So while I'd rather see the Eagles lose, I don't give a shit. To be honest with you, I don't care. No hair off my back. Yep, they'll have bragging rights, and they're going to talk shit regardless. Because even if they lose the game, they still made it to the Super Bowl. We even make the playoffs. So what am I going to say to an Eagles fan? Whether they win or lose. I'd much rather them lose. But if they lose, they're still going to be like, bro, you didn't even make the playoffs. Don't talk to me. Touche. Fair point. Okay? They win the Super Bowl. They're going to be obnoxious. They're going to be obnoxious either way. I don't give a shit. I just want to see a good game, man. That shit we watched earlier, that was like pulling teeth. After Brock Purdy got hurt, watching Kyle Shanahan invent new ways to try to run the football and calling the same stinking ass stale reverses, and that shit was hard to watch. If this was not my job, I would have stopped watching. I was watching Wednesday on Netflix before that game. I could have gone back to watch Wednesday. It was getting good. I just want to see a good game. So all I'm saying is I want to make sure Patrick Mahomes plays for 4 quarters. I don't want to see Chad Henne. I'd like Travis Kelce to be upright for 4 quarters because I actually want to see a competitive game. Whether the Chiefs beat the Eagles or not is of no consequence to me. I just want the Super Bowl to be good. There's nothing worse than a dry-ass Super Bowl. At least there are 2 championship games. If we F up one, we still got another one. And guess what? The second game made up for the lackluster nature of the first one. Okay? You get 2 shots at it. Same thing with wild card weekend and divisional round. Hey, one game sucks. We still got 2 or 3 more. That game wasn't good. We still got 1 today and another 2 tomorrow. We'll be fine. Championship weekend. First game sucked. Second game was really good. Super Bowl is just 1 game. Ain't no, well, maybe the other game would be good. This is it. I just hope it's a good game. That's all I'm looking for at this point. Let's see. Alex, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Alex writes, Dre was penalized because he punched 2 times after the whistle. I don't know if the whistle had blown or not. He punched. It was excessive. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. He punched 3 times. Like, after you punch the first time and it don't come out, chances are probably not going to come out, bro. Probably not going to come out. But he kept punching anyway. But that flag, it doesn't get much later than that. I had already thought that they had made the determination not to throw the flag. And then it seemed like a couple of Eagles players started barking about it. And then it's like the flag came out late. Like, what are we doing? Like, either you're going to throw the flag or you're not. But I didn't think a flag needed to be thrown in that situation. Again, this is my thing. He didn't strike the player. He hit the ball 3 times. Now, from the vantage point that the official is looking at, he may not be able to determine that he hit the ball every time and that he didn't actually hit the player. So I can understand that. I don't know if he's hitting the ball or not, but I see him punching, loading up and punching. So I got a problem with that. As an official, you want to throw the flag, fine. But from the way I look at it, the lens that I'm coming at it with is, bro, it's 28-7. I just want this game to be over. Dre, hey, 57, come here. Don't do that again. You do that again, I'm going to flag you, okay? That's all that needed to be done there. We don't need the 15-yard penalty. We don't need the extra theatrics. Hey, 57, come here. Don't do that again. You do that again, I'm going to have to flag you. Let's move on. Let's finish running out this clock and get this shit over with. Let's not stop the clock with unnecessary penalties. We've had enough of those in the game already, unnecessary penalties. Let's not add another one to the mix. That's where I was coming from with it. Alex, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, your take on the Trent thing is poor. Be better. I've been waiting to air your ass out because I hadn't seen you. You did some bitch ass shit, Alex. So don't try me today, okay? Because I'm really not happy with you because my team beat your team and your ass ain't show up for a month and a half. So for you, zip it, stay in the comment section, okay? Because that was some real bitch assness, and I didn't expect that out of you. Of all the Eagles fans, not you. And I know they've been running your ass out of the comment section a couple of times, but you got to be better. So you be better, okay? You be better. Ty the guy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. All I ever ask is keep it consistent. If you're going to be here, be here. If you're not, you're not. It's cool. Ain't no skin off my back. But you can't come back like ain't shit happen. You're going to take your lumps, take your lumps. Because I always tell you, you know where to find me. I don't hide. Okay? You know where I'm going to be at. Win, lose, draw, I'm going to be right here. You know where to find me. I don't respect those that throw stones and then hide their hand. You're going to give it out? Take it. That's all I've asked. Ty the guy. Stand up. You're officially the newest member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you, Mob. Y'all know what to do. Show my guy some love. Welcome him to the squad with open arms. Y'all know how we do it. Ty the guy, welcome to the squad. Yes, indeed. All right. Gig Nat, the Big Mac. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Gignac the Big Mac writes, good day for Joe Bozo haters like me. Mahomes is king. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in football, if you ask me. Like, that was my point last week, was this wasn't a Mahomes-Burrow discussion, right? Even if Burrow would have won today, that doesn't make him better than Mahomes. It just means he's beaten Mahomes every time he's played him. It doesn't mean he's better than him. It just means he's gotten the best of him in these matchups. Okay? Mahomes is still the king. He's the undisputed champion. Okay? 5 seasons starting, 5 trips to the AFC Championship game, all of them at home. 3 of them he's won. He's going to his 3rd Super Bowl, and he's got a chance to win his 2nd and only his 5th season as a starter, 6th overall in the league. What are we talking about here? There's nothing to discuss. Burrow is he's damn good in his own right. Okay? This is his 3rd season as a starter, 2nd straight trip to the AFC Championship game. And he's been to a Super Bowl already. He's damn good too. He's on the same type of trajectory that Mahomes is on. Same shit. So you don't have to dislike Burrow because you like Mahomes. Mahomes is really good. Burrow is really good. Okay. Mahomes is better. Burrow is 2nd. And we're going to see these two do battle for many years to come. That's what I believe, as long as they're healthy. Let's see. All right. That's the last comment. Super chat. And so that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Championship Sunday Overtime. Eagles dominate the 49ers. That was impressive because they were physical, man. Like, we could sit here and talk about Brock Purdy being injured. They injured him. They injured Josh Johnson. They did that. This wasn't, the 49ers having an unlucky break. Like, the commentators tried to make it seem like, oh, man, what a tough break for the 49ers. Yeah, it is a tough break, but guess what? The Eagles created that break for themselves. Brock Purdy didn't step on someone's foot and turn his ankle. He didn't hit his hand on somebody's helmet. That's an unlucky, tough break. Man almost got his damn elbow snatched off of his damn shoulder by a guy that had 16 sacks on the season, and you decided to block him with a tight end. You got what you deserved. Dominant performance by the Eagles, 31-7. They advance to Super Bowl 57, where they'll be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who will represent the AFC after their 23-20 winner over the Cincinnati Bengals. Really good football game between those two teams. Looking forward to Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona. I think these are two really good football teams. Honestly, if we're keeping it a buck, I think the Eagles right now, as I sit here, and this could change, we got 2 weeks, and we'll find out about the injury statuses to some of these players that went down tonight. And, I expect Mahomes to be a lot healthier in 2 weeks. I expect Travis Kelce to be healthier in 2 weeks. And we'll see what the actual injury toll for the Chiefs is. And we'll find out in a couple of weeks. But right now, I'm leaning towards the Eagles winning this game, to be honest with you. Just because I don't know if I trust the Chiefs defense against that Eagles offense, even though I think if they can somehow, and I don't trust them to stop the run consistently. That's probably what it is for me, is I don't trust them to stop the Eagles rushing attack. I think the Eagles will be able to really run the football down Kansas City's throat. And it'll minimize Jalen Hurts' impact on the game, which is what I think. If you're ultimately going to beat Philadelphia, I have expertise in the matter, okay? We're the only team to beat the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. Right here. So I can tell you how to do it. It's easier said than done, right? Not everybody has the ability to do what we did. Not everybody schemes it up the way that we are. Not everybody has the athletes, because we got some good athletes defensively to be able to do what we did to the Eagles, neutralize the run game, and force Jalen Hurts to beat you with his arm. That's what you have to do if you want to beat the Eagles. I'm not sure the Chiefs can do that. I'm really, truly not. So I'm leaning towards the Eagles right now. But as I mentioned, we got 2 weeks. My mind could be changed, but right now, I think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. If I'm being candid with you right now, I think the Eagles, I wouldn't be shocked. Kansas City will probably be the early favorites. I'm making the Eagles favorites, and then you're gonna have that line is gonna have to change for me as we get closer to the game. Right now, I'm putting the Eagles at 2.5-point favorites heading into this game. Change my mind. Change my mind. Got a super chat here from Alex. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Alex writes, congrats on your Week 10 Super Bowl, Lou. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I would have appreciated it after Week 10 when we bust your ass, but better late than never. I'll accept it now. Thank you. Still not off the hook, but I appreciate that. Niners fan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Niners fan writes, demoralizing. Kyle always finds a way to choke. I was not impressed with Kyle. I was really, really, really looking forward to Kyle righting the ship, maybe exercising some demons today. He looked like the moment was too big for him. Not throwing a challenge flag, putting Brock Purdy in that situation where you're blocking a guy with 16 sacks on the season with a backup tight end. You were asking for trouble, you know. I didn't love some of the play calls. But, you know, once Brock Purdy got hurt, and I put that on Kyle, you put him in that position. Once Brock Purdy got hurt, his hands were tied at that point. But it was what he did leading up to that put you in a position where you were already behind the 8 ball. The Eagles shouldn't have scored on their first possession. That's on Kyle Shanahan. Brock Purdy shouldn't have been knocked out of this game. That's on Kyle Shanahan. Even after he got knocked out of the game and you got Josh Johnson in there, you're running the ball down the Eagles' throats. Why are we dropping Josh Johnson back like he's some kind of drop back and sling it type of quarterback? Where was his legs in the run game? Josh Johnson is in. You know what kind of a quarterback he is. You should be running RPOs and read options. He should be using his legs to stress this Eagles defense. We saw none of that. This was straight drop back game from Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson is ass. I thought he went to bed. And so the narrative continues on Kyle Shanahan. It's unfortunate because he had a hell of a season, but the regular season isn't where he's going to be defined. He's going to be defined by success this time of the year. And for him, it escapes him too often. Sometimes it's his fault. Sometimes it's not. Jaquaski Tart catches a interception last year. He's going to the Super Bowl. He didn't. That's going to fall in Kyle's lap. Rams fans counter with Ben Skoranek doesn't drop a touchdown. Look, it goes both ways. At the end of the day, Kyle didn't get it done today. He let his team down. And that's a big decision to not throw the challenge flag on the first possession of the game because, to me, the start to the game was crucial. I want those, 60,000 fans sitting the hell down and shutting up. And the best way he could have done that was to throw the challenge flag, overturn that catch. 49ers football at the 49ers 37-yard line on their first possession. They could go 3 and out. The Eagles are going to be starting at their own 13 on the next possession because you were going to have good field position, but he didn't challenge that. Anyway, I digress. Alex, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Alex writes, I would have come after your members. I would have came after if your members didn't get on my nerves so much. I've been here with you since 2013 or something. All love, even though you the ops. Same here, which is why I was disappointed. And I know they've been really harsh on you. I would have given you some sort of protection. I can't, protect you in the comment section. And I know you go back and forth with them all the time, but I would have told them to ease up. Okay. I usually do tell them, y'all chill out. All right. But for you to not, and it wasn't just that you didn't show up that week. I didn't see you for like a month and a half. Okay. You weren't in the comment sections, nothing. Then when y'all got close to clinching the division, you just magically reappeared. Like, come on, bro. That ain't even how we operate. That ain't how we rock. And you know that. Okay. I expect that from a lot of these fair weather Eagle fans who just want to show up to gloat. Not you, because that ain't who you've been. When I check attendance, you're always here. Okay. Then you just go no show after we beat y'all in week 10. Yeah, we talked a lot of shit before the season started, and I guaranteed a week 3 victory. I was here after we got our asses kicked. I manned up, 10 toes down, took my shit like a man. I was just expecting the same from you after the week 10 loss. That's all. That's it. That's all I ever asked for. Consistency. The same shit I'm asking from these officials. Consistency. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? We talk shit. You're going to be wrong. When you do what I do, as fans, we get sometimes emotional and we say shit, and in a moment, it's all good. And then after the fact, you're like, why the hell did I say that dumbass shit? My team ain't going to back that shit up. But at the end of the day, you're going to be wrong. You're not going to be 100% right. But it's not about what you do in that moment. It's what you do afterwards, right? Adversity is something that's going to hit. That's when we really find out who you are. When shit's going well, it's easy to show up and be present and accounted for. I'm looking for the people that show up after a game that's a tough loss. I'm looking for those that are accounted for and present and say, hey, I'm here, man. Take my lumps right now. Go ahead and give them to me. You could have showed up after that game and then not shown up for a month and a half, and I would have been cool. But like, damn, I ain't seen you in a while, Alex. But to just go absolutely dark and then show up when shit is sweet again? Come on, man. You know, that ain't even how we get down, man. Ty the guy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for joining the MOBB, who writes, Jermaine heated with teammate Joseph Osai over costly roughing the passer call. Crazy vid. He was really pissed. How much percentage of the blame is his? I hate, like, as a teammate, I already feel like shit. I don't really need you being harsh on me. It was a bonehead play. Don't get me wrong, right? You hate to see a game come down to a call like that. You really, truly do. That's tough to stomach, right? However, as a teammate, I can't tell you how many times I've watched it. As a fan, fans are irrational. Don't talk to us. You know, when fans are killing Joseph Osai, probably. That's what fans do. I expect that from fans. They don't know Joseph Osai personally. They haven't been in a locker room with him every day. They haven't gone through the dog days of training camp with Joseph Osai. They don't know him. When you know a guy and you know the work he puts in, and then he F's up in a game in a big spot, as a teammate, it's your job to go over and say, hey, bro, it's all right. We'll pick you up. We'll get him next time. And you see that all the time. The only position that usually doesn't get the benefit of the doubt is kicker. Like, other players, they don't view the kicker, unless he's making kicks, they don't view him as an equal on the roster, unfortunately. You got to earn, like, some real equity with the team, with the squad, in order to miss a big kick and have your teammates still come up to you and say, hey, we'll get him next time. They'll isolate themselves from the kicker real quick, like, man, F that kicker. If he would have made his kick, we would have won. Like the Cowboys pretty much did with Brett Maher. Like, he didn't win them 2-3 games this season, but they was ready to throw his ass under the bus after that Tampa Bay game. That's how they treat kickers. But, you know, that's tough, man. That's a tough spot to be in, because what I'm looking for from my teammate is for him to come over. The man visibly is shooken up on the sideline. He's crying. He's got his helmet on his head. He doesn't want to get up. He knows. Look, I know I just effed up. I know. I'm looking for a teammate to come over and say, hey, man, come on. Pick him up. Help him to the locker room. You know, get him in front of his locker. Sit him down. Let him know, bro, you didn't lose us this game. We lost this game as a team. It's tough because when you get to a moment by yourself, you be like, man, Joseph screwed us, right? But there were plays in that game. Joe Burrow threw 2 picks, right? You give him a big punt return at the end of this game that put them in a position. They're not even close. If Sky Moore catches that punt and has an 8-yard return, we're going to overtime. Instead, you give up a 38-yard return. Like, it wasn't just Joseph Osai. But his play is going to be magnified. I'd hope that Jermaine Pratt would be more understanding of that, because you'd want the same grace and mercy if it were you. If you had the big penalty that led to the other team kicking a game-winning field goal, you'd want your teammates to be like, damn, Jermaine, we got your back, bro. We'll get him next year. I mean, that's tough. I hope he didn't say or do anything crazy, but it's an emotional game. And when you lose it in that fashion, shit happens. You know, things get said that you probably shouldn't say, but they probably thought they were going to win the Super Bowl this year. And when one of your players says we going to Burrowhead and you got a chance to back him up, that's a bitter pill to swallow, because you were talking shit pretty much. Your mayor said that we gotta get Patrick Mahomes a paternity, or Burrow a paternity test to make sure that Mahomes isn't his son. Like, there's a lot of shit being talked. You want to be able to back that up. You lost, so you didn't, and now you want somebody to blame. That's unfortunate that it happened in the manner that it did, but you win as a team, you lose as a team. You know, unless one guy, you know, hurt you with 3 big-time penalties and then that one at the end, and then, yeah, absolutely. It's easy to put the loss with Dallas against the 49ers. Yeah, Dak was awful, and his 2 interceptions were costly, right? Easily could have thrown a third, and it should have been a pick 6 if Dre Greenlaw could catch, walk in the end zone with a third pick. Yeah, a lot of what happened in that game was on Dak. So it's easy to put the blame on him. But he wasn't the only reason they lost that game. He wasn't the only reason they lost that game. It's easy to point at the guy that you feel like had the biggest slice of the pie, but it's a team game. It's a team game. Niners fan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Niners fan. Double up. Who writes, done with the mediocre raw QBs. Give me a legit QB. So you're not, I mean, come on, man. Like, you don't believe in Brock Purdy? You know what? Let me say this to you. Now, I was thinking about this, and I meant to bring this up, and I didn't. This complicates things in the offseason, because I'm hearing it's a UCL injury, UCR or whatever in the elbow. They're not sure if it's ruptured or not. Like, the severity of this could determine how long of a recovery process we're looking at. And we're talking about the throwing elbow, not the off arm, the throwing elbow. So all of a sudden you go from an offseason where Brock Purdy's probably the guy, and maybe they'll be willing to trade Trey Lance, to, all right, if Purdy's got a significant injury and the timetable for him to be ready, like, he might be ready for camp, he may not be ready for training camp. That changes everything. Because I don't know if Trey Lance is the answer or not. It's impossible to know. Him not playing these first 2 years really doesn't help him at all. So it puts you in a tough spot, because if Purdy just loses, but he's healthy, you go into the offseason thinking, hey, we got a guy. He could be the next Tom Brady. Why not? This injury complicates matters. It truly does. So what are your feelings after this game, Niners fan? Because you sound like you're over Brock Purdy, like he did something wrong in this game. He got hurt because your coach left him out to dry with a second-string tight end blocking a 16-sack pass rusher on a 7-step drop trying to push the football down the field. If you're going to max protect, then max protect. I don't call leaving my tight end one-on-one with one of the NFL sack leaders max protecting. Brock Purdy didn't do anything wrong. What do you want him to do? Do you not think he's legit? If you were singing this tune before he got injured, okay, humor me. Let me know why you feel the way you feel. But if you're just mad in the moment because you lost the game and he got injured, I don't know how you go from Brock Purdy and him potentially being the guy to now I need a real QB as if he's not one. I mean, how do you know he's not one? This is his first career loss, and he didn't even really play in the game. Seriously, like if you watch the game, he started the game, he finished the game, but it's what happened in between that really determined the outcome, and he wasn't a part of that. Anyway, I digress. Ty the guy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Ty the guy writes, man, I can't stand Eli Apple. Get in line. There are a lot of people. I don't have a big Eli Apple problem. I just watch from afar his chicanery. Again, his mom, you know, she's one of those moms that's going to always have her son's back, even when he's wrong. My mom is like that too. You know, I could tell my mom that I did something, you know, that I wasn't supposed to do. And if somebody came at me sideways, my mom will be defending me as if I didn't do it. Like, that's just the type of mama that I have. Not that she's, you know, aiding and abetting me doing bad stuff. That's not how I was raised. But my mom's going to stand up for me, and that's how Eli Apple's mom is. But at some point, when you don't tell your son, hey, you're wrong, then they start to believe their shit. And it's almost like you are, in effect, enabling them to be an ass. Because he's an ass. Eli Apple's an ass. And again, he's not a good football player. So you don't get to be an ass and trash. Those two things usually don't go together. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Championship Sunday. Super Bowl 57 is set. Eagles and Chiefs. Who you got? Early indications for me are that the Eagles will be victorious. Again, that's subject to change. We've got 2 weeks. We'll find out the severity of some of these Chiefs injuries that were sustained tonight. I do not like the way that Jalen Hurts is playing, but I don't think they're going to need a Herculean performance from Jalen Hurts against that Chiefs defense. That's my initial analysis, which is why I think the Eagles are going to win. I thought San Francisco could stop the run and force Jalen Hurts to beat them. They did not do that. And obviously, I couldn't have accounted for Brock Purdy getting injured, but I thought the 49ers would be better against the run in this game. And they weren't. They weren't as good as I thought they were going to be. That said, this has a chance to be a really good Super Bowl, which is all I asked for. Just want a good game at the end of the day. So anyway, I digress. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I don't know the next time I'm going to see you, to be honest with you, because the twins are going to be home the next 2 days. Their daycare provider is not open the next 2 days. So I don't know if I'll be able to get to you guys until Wednesday at the earliest. Washington fans, I'll try to pump something out for you because I do have something that I do want to talk about with you guys in particular. But the rest of you guys, I don't know when it is I'll be able to get with you guys. Anyway, I see you when I see you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will. Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl 57. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Till next time, y'all get out of here. God bless and good night.